All right. Hello, and everyone, and welcome back. This is our second live stream this week. Sorry if the lighting is a little bad here. I had it like perfect earlier. It's rolled in, it started raining, so sorry if the lighting is a little bad. But we've got a lot of stuff we got to talk about today, and all of this stuff involves what will happen for tomorrow on Independence Day, as long as weather is looking good. So we're going to go ahead and start off. In case you don't already know, we are launching. We are scheduled to launch not one, but two rockets tomorrow morning. And this will be the very first time we live stream a rocket launch, or in this case, two rocket launches. The stream will start at about 9:30 a.m. Central Time, and this is on July 4th. And we'll start around 9:30. I'll provide a bit more of background information. I'll quickly go over, like tomorrow morning, I will very quickly go over what I'm going to go over here today. And then I've got a big old checklist here in this book that I have to go over before we can launch. And it's very important that we go over all these things. So I did not bring one of the rockets with me today, but I did bring. Actually, you know what? We're going to talk about communication first. So let me grab our communication. Okay, so tomorrow morning for our live stream, and actually let me fix this setting real quick. Yep. Okay. So tomorrow morning, before the live stream, or not before the live stream, but during the live stream, if you've ever seen a rocket launch live, you will know that that they will do what's called a go and no go poll, and so I'll show you kind of what that is after I explain it here for a second, and then I'll go through the list of what all needs to happen and just what all needs to be in the green for us to launch. So I've got here with me two walkie-talkies. One of them is for me. The other is for my controller, and they're going to help me out. And I will ask them the questions, and they will tell me if we're go or not go. And I actually put together a simulation of what this might look and sound like. So go ahead and check this out.
QV2 recovery system. Go. QV2 center of mass and pressure. Go. QV2 motor and engine. Go. QV2 propellant. Go. QV2 electrical. Go. Weather. Go. Range. Go. This is Flight Director, and we are go for the launch of Quantum Voyager 2 Orbitron Recovery System. Go. Orbitron center of mass and pressure. Go. Orbitron motor and engine. Go. Orbitron propellant. Go. Orbitron electrical. Go. Orbitron payload altimeter. Go. Orbitron GPS AirTag. Go. Weather. Go. Range. Go. This is Flight Director, and we are go for the launch the Estes Orbitron carrying an Estes altimeter and Apple AirTag.
Alright, so that is what we will see tomorrow morning, and that will be live streamed. You will be able to see that happening live, those live callouts. And we basically want to hear go on every single thing in order to launch. If we hear no on one of them, we will one, go on a hold, or two, we will scrub the launch. So I'm going to go into detail on what each of these means. So we're going to start with what you heard, QV2. QV2 is the 3D printed homemade rocket, and QV2 is short for Quantum Voyager 2. That is the name of the rocket, and will be launching on its debut maiden flight tomorrow. Actually, let's make sure I'm unmuted here. There we go. Yes, I am. Just double checking. But anyways, that will be launching on its maiden flight tomorrow. We ran final tests. And I'll go into detail on that later because that's a whole story of itself. But let's go into the details. So the first call out you heard was QV2 recovery system. Now this includes, and you saw pictures up there, that includes the parachute, the shock cord, and the ejection charge. Ejection charge is a part of the Estes C67 engine, and the 7 at the end of that just means from the time the engine burns out, it has a 7-second delay before it basically produces a small explosion at the top of the engine, which sends vibrations through the rocket and pushes this thin paper-like material called recovery wadding up, and it will deploy parachute and nose cone. So that is the recovery system. We want to here go for that. QV2 center of mass and pressure. This was involved tests that we did yesterday, and that is very important stuff that has to be go. Otherwise, we'll end up like the last rocket, and it will go down, or it will spin and pitch and swerve all over the place. So we must have a go for that, and I'll announce the results on that later. And QV2 motor and engine is next. That means, is the engine charged or not charged? Is the engine in the rocket? Does it have the plug in it? And does it have the starter in it? That's what we mean when we're checking for the engine. And QV2 propellant, essentially, that's more in detail of the motor and engine. So I really think of propellant as that spark plug that really ignites the engine. QV2 electrical. I'll demonstrate that here in a second. Once we're done going over these checks and stuff. QV2 electrical is we are the clips, alligator clips, are hooked up to the ignition plug, not plug, the starter, and we're hooked up, and we have a red light, and I'll show you that red light and everything. If we have a red light, we're good. And then weather, that's self-explanatory. We cannot launch in wind speeds over 15 miles an hour. Currently, it looks like we're good about 10 to 12 miles an hour, and we'll go and check that here later as well. And range is making sure that everyone who is involved with launch or not, that they are uh, at least 30 feet away from the launch site. Estes recommends 30 feet away, as that's the distance of the launch controller. However, you should probably go more, 50 probably. And then I'll make an announcement if all of those are go. I will say, this is Flight Director, and we are go for the launch of Quantum Voyager 2. And that just means we are go for launch, and we are good to go ahead and start the ignition sequence and watch the thing go sky high for Independence Day. So that's what you heard for Quantum Voyager 2, our homemade 3D printed rocket. Now, we're going to move on to Orbitron. Orbitron is an Estes vehicle, beginner level vehicle. That took me about 15 minutes to assemble. This vehicle runs on a D12.5. It's a bigger engine. It's a D12.5 Estes motor. And that, with the weight and everything of this rocket, it will go approximately 975 feet in the sky, but we will have an altimeter in it to actually track that, and we'll go into more detail on that later. But we start off the same with the checks: recovery system, center mass and pressure, motor and engine, propellant, and electrical. Those are all the same, and weather and range, and then the go for launch. However, there are 2 extra on this one. So this flight will be carrying 2 payloads. We will be carrying a payload. It's two of them. We will be carrying an Estes altimeter, and an altimeter is a small device that tracks altitude from where it starts at, where it is turned on. So that will be in the payload section. And also in the payload section, we have a GPS and Apple AirTag. So that way, because that altimeter is expensive. It's like $40 for something very small that weighs like not 2 grams, like 5 grams, I think. So it's very, yeah, it's very expensive and we want to find it. So that's why we will be having that AirTag in there. And then it has weather on there, again, self-explanatory, range I explained. And if those are all go and altimeter is running correctly, we are receiving a signal from the AirTag, then I will make that same call out and I will go, this is Flight Director, we are go for the launch of the Estes Orbitron carrying an Estes altimeter and Apple AirTag. So that's what we have there. So that is the checklist for tomorrow. Those final things that we will make about T-minus 1 minute to launch. Those are those final call outs that we will make. Now, there are a few things that we do have to do before launch day tomorrow. So these are things I have to take care of after this stream. So I need to get the altimeter installed and the AirTag installed inside of Orbitron. The parachute system is installed into Quantum Voyager 2, and I will again tell a story about that later on. Parachute system is not installed for Orbitron. I'll collect my live stream material, launch controller. This is a list for me, and then we're going to check weather. We've been checking daily, providing daily updates for that. But let's go over the launch material that we will need for launch day. So, like I mentioned already, we will be using these two walkie-talkies here. They communicate back and forth, nice and simple for us to communicate with my team. In addition, I will most likely be bringing my fancy little camera. This is meant for pictures, not so much video. I've used it for video in the past, but I have an actual video camera here, which will provide a further away angle. So I think I'm actually going to plan, and I'm going to have, I think it was 3 angles of camera footage. So there will be no onboard camera for either one of these flights. I know I've done 2 onboard camera flight footage in the past, but this one will not contain any. So um, I'll have a closer up camera, and let me actually get that camera. So this camera right here, this is a good one. So this will help capture sound and everything good since it's got this microphone on it. So it's 4K. That's good. It works well. Well, this one I have used many times before. This one will be used, and it will be close enough. It'll be closer to the launch pad. It'll be the one closest to the launch pad, just like those normal shots where you can see it on the launch pad, and you can see that ignition sequence and liftoff. So that one will be or not on the launch pad, but closest to the launch pad. The second one I am actually using right now. So that is my webcam, which I'm using to film right now, and that is on top of my tripod. So I will be using this webcam, and that will be in between the launchpad camera and the third camera. So let's actually talk about. So this camera here, um, this is the only camera I have that you will get live views from, but I will begin editing footage on the 5th. Hopefully I can get it done the 5th, because after the 5th I am not going to be able to edit it for a week. But we'll see. But this camera, this is the only feed you'll be able to see. I will be the one launching the rocket, clicking the buttons, making callouts and stuff like that, and it will launch. And then I will run as fast as I can over to this tripod, grab the webcam, and try and point it at the rocket the best I can. Now we're hoping. I've never had a parachute deployment with a homemade 3D printed rocket before, but that's because the other one crashed into the ground before it could get that ejection charge going. But that will be our second camera that you will be seeing live from. Our third camera will be from an iPhone, and this will be a further away angle, so you can see launch, and we're usually able to track it pretty good all the way up to parachute deployment, depending on, well, if the parachute deploys or not. So that's some launch material. That's launch cameras and stuff like that. So you heard me earlier mention that 30 feet away from the launch controller and stuff like that. Well, I just recently got a brand new launch controller. This is the Estes Pro Series 2 launch controller, which instead of 2 alligator clips contains 4 alligator clips and 30 feet of wire. This wire is all bunched up right now, but it will not be because I am not going to be this far away, or this close, I should say, to the rocket. But we're going to go ahead and demonstrate the launch sequence. Of course, I'm not going to hook it up to the engine indoors. That would not be a very smart decision. That'd not be good at all. So what's going to essentially happen, we're going to pretend that, I'm going to try and get y'all these close-up views. We're going to pretend that these alligator clips are the starter, So we're going to clip these onto each other, and that won't happen tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow we will actually clip them on. And what I was saying during those go or no-go checks earlier is electrical, and that's when we're hooked up to that. That's when we're hooked up to the rocket with the alligator clips. And if the launch key, this is a launch key right here. If the launch key is in and glowing red, you see this is so hard to see. Yeah, that's glowing red. It's blinding the webcam. But uh, when that's glowing red, we know we have good electrical. There's a yellow button right here. So that I will hold down this yellow button at T minus 2 seconds to launch, and it will make an audible tone or buzz. And once I click the red button, which is the launch button, it will launch. So we'll go ahead and do a quick simulation of that. So that's going to be T minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then red button, and it launches. So that's what it's going to look like with both. And then once I'm done, I'm going to leave the launch key in so I can run over to the tripod. And then once we're done, we'll take that launch key out, because whenever we're hooking it up, we do not want it hooked up. We don't want the launch key in when we are hooking it up to the rocket. So I'm excited to try out this new controller for the first time. It will be interesting. We're going to talk about the recovery sequence a bit here now. So here again is now the homemade rocket is flying it's flying a C-6-7. This in my hand is a D-12-5. So here you can see, I'm not sure, that black hole, that is the nozzle, and that is where the exhaust comes out from. So essentially, at the end, after it ignites, at the end of the ignition sequence, there's like more white-ish powder up here at the top, and it's a powerful charge that deploys, or that it's an explosion essentially in midair, but it sends vibrations and little shockwaves up through the rocket, and it gets to here. This is recovery wadding. It's a very thin piece of paper that helps absorb the shock from the parachute and nose cone, and it also helps absorb flames in case that ever happens, because that has happened before on my last 3D printed rocket. Let's talk about the payload for the Estes Orbitron. So I've got with me here the payload. I do not currently have the rocket with me. It's down somewhere. But here is our air tag. We'll be flying this. And then the most important one, the altimeter. You can see the Estes altimeter. Very small, like I said. Very small. But essentially what's gonna happen is I will load it, or I will installation of it I will probably have to do tomorrow during launch day. Just because the way this button works and everything is so far inside of the altimeter that it would be very tricky already as it is to get inside of the rocket and do it like that. So we'll wait till the morning to install this, and then but we will get that AirTag installed once this stream is over. So that is the payload. I think now we should talk about a story. So I have here with me our 3D printed homemade rocket that I can barely fit into the camera frame. This thing, it's over 2 feet tall. Just the body tube itself, which runs from like here, is it's insane. I think this whole rocket is about 30 inches tall. So that's pretty tall. It's over 2 feet tall. About 6 inches. That's like 2.5 feet tall. It's pretty big. It's the biggest one I've built so far. Um, before we get into the story, we made modifications to this rocket due to center of mass issues. We were originally going to launch this for New Year's, but did not get the chance once again because of those center of mass issues. So here I have with me the old nose cone. It's small. It's about 5 inches tall. I can fit it between my fingers. And then we get to this new nose cone. This new nose cone is 7.25 inches tall. As you can see, I would not be able to fit that between my fingers. It's a whole lot taller. It helps provide more room for weights if needed and stuff like that. But anyways, I have this. You might be able to see, but there's this dirtier colored section right here compared to this. There's this right here, and this is an extension that was used to help add more weight to the top so we can fix that center of mass issue. Um, and now we get into the story. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting actually. So I am here and I glued this on this new weight extension and it's working. It's working good. It's top notch. It's working just fine. And it's glued together. It's perfect. And so then I'm letting that dry outside, and then this part right here, there is this blue part right there. Everything underneath it, so where the engine and launch rug and that stuff is, kind of just this rocket tipped over, and it kind of fell off. Let me check stream quality real quick. It does not seem to be liking me very much over here. And then we'll continue this story. Honestly, I just gotta move around more. Okay. Well, anyways, this rocket right here, everything below it just fell off, and so what? It just fell off. So I tried gluing the two parts back together, and I left it to dry overnight. Cement, which is what I normally use. I think I brought the bottle with me. I did. I did bring the bottle with me. I use this little bottle of plastic cement. Um, After my experience with wood glue and Estes rockets, did not work out well. But essentially, I used plastic cement, and it just fell apart so easily the next day. I don't even know what happened. So I sanded it all off, and I cleaned it all up and stuff like that. Took off any tape that I had on there to help with it, and I printed a 1 inch blue uh, extension basically, and that really helped have the glue a new surface to be on. So instead of using plastic cement, I used something called CA glue, and it's very strong. It's very strong. I'll tell you, it dries in 20 seconds. Um, and I use it for a lot of stuff. It's very strong, very strong. Um, and I'm like, well, I've never used that glue before on a rocket. Is it going to be able to withstand the 11 Gs that is experienced for this rocket? And so, I consulted ChatGPT just as any wise person would do. And it said, you mix it with baking soda. Yeah, it would make a chemical reaction that would, one, make it stronger. Woo, I noticed it cured faster. I'm not sure about the strength, but I sure noticed it cured faster. But that was a funny story. Not funny, but it's all fixed now, and we're go for launch. So that was very exciting there. There's not that I have to talk about other than it's Independence Day tomorrow, and it's going to be great watching these two rockets lift off. Um, like I said, unfortunately, because I do not know a way to wirelessly, because this camera I have here, it says it like works with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so you can wirelessly like get it hooked up to stuff. I've tried it, it doesn't. I've tried a lot of stuff, it just doesn't. Um, Otherwise you would have multiple angles. But unfortunately, you only have one angle. But like I said, as soon as it's launched, I will run back here and I will try and get y'all the best view ever of that rocket. But once again, in the morning, listen to those call outs. Listen to those call outs. If you hear all go, then you know you're in for an Independence Day treat. If you don't, then you might still be in a treat. You just gotta hold on. So really, the range is the only one we can really put a hold on. Weather depends. It depends. But actually, let's take a look at that weather. I think that is a good idea. Let's take a look at weather. Let me switch over once I get this pulled up. So I like to use a little fancy. You can see it pulled up here on your screen. You got that hurricane right there. Hurricane Flossie, but that is not what we're here for. So we're gonna zoom out, and we're just gonna check that wind speed once again. So we're gonna zoom, not too far. It's taking forever to load. Has it loaded any? I don't know. Where are we at? We're in London. We don't want to be there. So we want to be in like a kind of a blue to gray color-ish. It really depends. Um, as of right now, looks like we're borderline. So we're looking at wind speeds as of right now, appeared to be about 15. Um, we need those to go down. We can't launch in any more than 15. But once again, in the morning, is that even for the morning? No, that's not. That's at 3 p.m. You know what? We need the morning. We're launching around 9:30, so we're gonna start here. Okay, that's a lot better. 13, that's a lot better. Okay. We're feeling good there. Okay. It's still borderline, but we're still looking good there. Now, anyways, before we go off there, I would like to tell y'all great new stuff here. So let's just kind of go into preview mode here. Maybe it's kind of being slow, you know. The whole thing is being slow. That's weird. It's being real weird. I don't know what's going on. My whole computer is just not liking me. Okay, well, anyways, here is just some galactic merchandise and stuff like that. Just take a good look at all of this, especially here. We've got 3 mission stickers right now. So we've got Starship IFT-7 mission sticker. We've got Starship Flight 9 mission sticker, which is personally my favorite out of all of them. And then we've got a New Glenn NG-1 mission sticker. And all these stickers contain where they launched from. So like LC-36 for Blue Origin and Boca Chica, Texas, because you cannot say Boca Chica, Texas. And then something brand new we have hats, 2 hats. We have one hat celebrating the 56th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing coming up here on July 16th. And this hat is The Eagle Has Landed. It's a generic black hat, and I think it looks great. And we've got one that would just have a logo on it. T-shirts, we've got my personal favorite would be this very first one, Making Life Multiplanetary. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's the Starship vehicle with Mars in the background. It's great. Same thing, we got the logo. Amateur Engineer. This one is a very good one. You get, so you can see there in the background, it's got Saturn V in the background. But you can choose Saturn V, Space Shuttle, Falcon 9, Starship, Falcon Heavy, Soyuz. You can choose any vehicle, launch vehicle you want. It could be an Astra Rocket 3 if you want, the rocket that never works. Oh, and then here's also one celebrating the, zoom that in, yes. Here's also one celebrating that 56th anniversary of Apollo 11 moon landing. We've got the date on there, July 16th, 1969. We've got the location in the Sea of Tranquility, and we've got the location again, but in coordinates. And it's great. You get t-shirt size and all of that. Free shipping. It's perfect. But anyways, I mean it's all great. It's all great. So you can check that out. And it's at sites.google.com/view/cosmicon/home. That's where you can check that out. Or if you want to go straight to the store, instead of /home, do /store. Or if you want to go check out channel details, you can do /channel. I think that's all I've got to cover for today. So just make sure y'all stay tuned at 9:30 a.m. Central Time on July 4th. Independence Day Spectacular. 2 rocket launches, one of them carrying 2 payloads, a GPS and altimeter, the other one being a homemade 3D printed rocket. Very exciting stuff, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys later.